Etty STEELE, Vampire Hunter, The Hunter Series. Written by Grayson Grave. Narrated by Jodie Hollie-Anne. Chapter 1. I was sitting at the kitchen table, eating cereal with extra milk so that the chocolatey loops floated around. I imagined they were sailors lost at sea. One by one, I saved them with my spoon from the milky waters. It was the first day of school after the summer holidays, and I wasn't used to getting up this early. I had sleepy eyes, and I kept laying my forehead against the table, hoping I could fall asleep again without Mum noticing. "Wake up!" she snapped from the sink where she was washing up. She flicked water at me, and I groaned as it hit me in the face. Drops slid down to my chin. "You got it in my breakfast," I said. There was washing up bubbles in my cereal. That was when Dad walked in. He looked even sleepier than I felt. There were purple bags under his eyes, and his hair stuck up in all directions. He smiled at Mum and hugged her. After that, he held out his hands, and Mum happily took off the rubber gloves and handed them to him. Dad always did the housework. He turned to me and gave me a kiss on the forehead. "Morning, sweetheart," he said, but a moment later, Mum had come between us. She snatched my bowl and shoved it into Dad's hands. "Wash that up, darling," she said to him. "As for you, Henrietta, you're coming with me to the training room. Now." She grabbed my hand and marched me into the hallway. "For the 100th time," I said, "please don't call me Henrietta." Mum opened the secret panel in the wall and revealed the hidden keypad with the numbers 0 to 9 on it. She quickly typed in the code, which she kept a secret from Dad and me, and then slid the panel closed again. The door to the basement popped open. "Henrietta is your name," Mum said, shaking her head. She was looking at me like I wasn't really her daughter, but an alien who'd been sent down from space. "I hate Henrietta," I told her as we walked down the stairs to the basement. "You know I hate it. Everyone else calls me Etty. You're the only one who still calls me that awful name." We reached the bottom of the stairs, where it was so dark I couldn't see. I reached for the light switch. "Henrietta was your great-grandmother's name," Mum said irritably. "Now it's your name, and I'm not going to call you anything else." I rolled my eyes, and then my fingers found the light switch, which made the room buzz with electricity when I turned it on. The basement underneath my house wasn't a normal kind of basement. In fact, you might think you'd time-travel to the future if you saw it, or you might think my family was slightly insane. The walls and ceiling were made of metal, and the floor was black and shiny. It looked like black glass. That wasn't the strangest bit, though. There was a punch bag, lots of human dummies, a set of weapons attached to the wall, a robot that looked like a faceless plastic human, a white circle painted on the floor, and 2 wooden battle sticks hanging from the ceiling on clips. There were also wooden chests and cabinets against the walls. I'd never been allowed to open these. They were always locked. Our house definitely wasn't normal, especially not for the town we lived in. Brightwood was a small town near the sea, full of fishermen and farmers. Basements like this weren't supposed to exist in such a quiet, old-fashioned place. As I walked into the circle on the floor, Mum unclipped the battle sticks and threw one to me. I'd only just caught it when she came charging towards me, her stick raised above her head. Chapter 2. I blocked Mum's attack with my stick and then spun behind her and aimed a strike at her shoulder. She was quick. She ducked and rolled across the floor, springing back to her feet. My mum was agile, like a cat. But so was I. We carried on sparring, dodging around one another. Soon I was sweating, and my hands were sore from gripping the stick. Mum wasn't even tired. She ducked and leapt and spun around me while I struggled not to let her touch me with her stick. If I did, it meant I lost. For once, just once, I wanted to win. Then I saw my chance. Mum had jumped out of the way of my last attack, and she'd stumbled and fallen. I was about to catch her arm with my stick when I heard her gasp in pain. Had she hurt herself? Maybe she'd twisted her ankle. I stopped before my stick touched her and held out my hand to see if she was all right. "Tricked you," she said, grabbing my arm with one hand and pressing her stick against my chest with the other. I blinked in shock. She'd won. She straightened her leg and smiled in triumph. She was absolutely fine. She'd been faking it. "That's not fair," I said, my hands trembling. "You shouldn't have stopped," she replied matter-of-factly. "You're too soft, Henrietta. You must never stop. Never give your enemy a chance to get the upper hand." "I thought you were really hurt," I said, throwing the stick on the floor angrily and folding my arms across my chest. "Pick that up and stop acting so spoilt," she barked. I could feel my face going pale. I quickly did as she asked. When I placed the stick in her hand, she laid it against my shoulder. "I expect more of you, Henrietta," she said. "This isn't a game. If I don't teach you right, you could get hurt." "I would have won if you hadn't cheated," I told her. "Then be smarter and beat me next time." "That's what I've been trying to do," I said. I turned and headed towards the staircase. "Try harder," she called after me in a stern voice. "You're a vampire hunter, and it's time you started acting like one." I narrowed my eyes and then stormed off to get ready for school.